Good afternoon. It's 1:06. We're going to get started. I'll let you guys know that the sandwiches are on the way, but in essence of time, we do have a relatively long agenda. I want to start the meeting off, and then again, as the meal comes in, you can definitely interrupt whoever's talking and grab a sandwich and get back, and we can continue. So with that, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesus Escobar. I'm supervisor for District 1. See, speak of the devil, here it comes. Supervisor District 1 for Imperial County, and I'm lucky to be the vice chair. Our chair could not make it today, but I'm very blessed and honored to be with all of you today. With that, Francesca, can we check for quorum, please? A quorum, not forum, quorum.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Francesca. There is a simultaneous interpretation of this meeting between English and Spanish. Could I ask the interpreter to give us the details, please?
Good afternoon. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, world, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on the mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for the interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenas tardes. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, por favor desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles, haga clic en el icono de interpretación, el globo terráqueo, y seleccione español. Si está usando una aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación si se encuentra en la sala de reunión. Por favor, pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Brief housekeeping. This is a hybrid meeting. Members of the public, including Borders Committee members that would like to speak on an item, please use the raise hand icon in the Zoom toolbar. When you are called on by the chair or the clerk, you will be unmuted by SANDAG staff. If you're calling in by phone, you may need to enter *6 to unmute yourself, and after your comments, you will be muted by SANDAG staff. If you're calling into the meeting, please press *9 on your phone if you'd like to comment on an item. All comments, whether emailed or live, will be made part of today's agenda. Francesca, did I miss anything?
Nope, I think you got it.
Thank you. This I will read because it's very important and I don't want to miss any part of it. So today we want to recognize California Native American Day, with which we celebrate the first settlers of what is now our state. It is very important to emphasize that San Diego is the county with the most tribes in our country. And thanks to our tribal friends of the Southern California Tribal Association, we have built a strong relationship. In this context, before we conclude this year, we are planning to hold our annual Tribal Symposium to address and discuss topics of mutual interest. You will receive details, or we will receive details at a later date. Please let me respectfully acknowledge that we live and work on traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of tribal nations, including the Kumeyaay, Luiseño, Pupeño, and Coahuila peoples. Also, in our border region, we share strong historical and cultural roots that unite us with all our neighbors. Chairman Welsh, can I ask that you bless our meeting on this special occasion?
Thank you for the acknowledgement. And I invite all of you to come visit our reservation. We have we call it Small but Mighty Museum that tells our origin story. It's a 20-minute film. A story that takes 4 days to tell. We put it in 22 minutes. So if you ever have a chance, come out to the reservation. Thank you. One thing we like to say is PE in your way, it's just kaisis, which means we are still here. So with that, I'll bless it. Oh, yeah, hun, amaya ha, and yaya hun, itchpay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize. I should have asked everybody to stand up and I did not. So my apologies on that one. And we need all the help we can get. And if I offend some people, I apologize. But if you are present, I would love for you to have a blessing upon us every time we have a Borders Committee meeting. Thank you. Also, I want to recognize that we are celebrating the United States National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th. This is important because almost 4 of every 10 San Diegans identify themselves as Hispanics, but also because it is part of our own history. Our 2 celebrations today remind us that we have much to learn and much to change to eliminate disparities and ensure that safe, healthy, accessible, and inclusive opportunities are available to everyone. Working all together, we can build a brighter future for all. With that, we move on to public comments. Francesca, do we have public comments?
Thank you, Vice Chair. We do have several public comments. We'll start with the folks in the room with Truth, and then after Truth will be Mark.
All right, for the record, last meeting, I did indeed have wood-fired pizza, which is natural for the environment. And they gave me a discount for defending the neighborhood here at SANDAG. Let's see. Okay, here's a reminder about how many borders there are.
The Borders Committee was created not only to work by national perspective or by national issues with Mexico, but to have an interregional work with our neighboring counties, Orange, Riverside, and Imperial.
It seems like this committee has forgotten and is inequitably using taxpayer money to focus on only one area of the county, or in SANDAG terms, the region. I'm going to request that every border of every area of the county be given equal attention and financing. Why are Joel and Patricia even here if every item has nothing to do with their constituents? If they're not allowed to represent their respective areas, then I would like to see the dissolution of this committee, as it may be benefiting only one area at the expense of the rest. Don't you know taxation without representation is tyranny? And for example, the 67 had a 6-foot deep sinkhole, which led to one-way traffic. No solution.
Your time has expired. Thank you. Our next speaker will be, excuse me, Mark, who will be followed by Consuelo.
1 minute, what a joke. So, first of all, we could completely seal the border. There's a company called Appy's Core that 3D prints buildings about 20 by 20. About 1,000 square feet for $7,500 for if you had 10 by 40s, you could run houses all along the border. The 22,000 agents, you could have one every 2 miles who could call others. There could be a tall wall on the back that give housing for people. What's the real reason this is happening? People need to see this video called Goodbye American Sovereignty, Hello USMCA on YouTube. Our control over trade and immigration has been given over to an unelected foreign council with only one American member who is not elected by any of us. You guys don't know what's really going on. Biden did not rescind this. Trump signed it. The USMCA Chapter 30. It's in this video, you can reference it. That's what's really happening. And we no longer have a real country. We have the North.
Thank you. Your time has expired. And our next speaker is Consuelo, who will be followed by Jimena Villaseñor.
What a slap in the face to the ancestors. They're rolling in their graves. You claim to honor the indigenous people, then give them back their land. Typical lip service. If you doubt the power of your voice, just look at what they do to try and silence the people. With that being said, SANDAG will never have the answers to solve our problems, our issues here in San Diego County. Yet, they continue to mislead the people with all of their political shenanigans. It is up to each and every one of us to be responsible for ourselves and each other. Don't like hearing that? Too bad. We have allowed things in our beautiful county and on this gorgeously abundant planet to get so bad by allowing government to be at the wheel for everything. People have forgotten their power. This local government does not want their constituents self-reliant or critically thinking. They thrive from and off of our division, ignorance,
Thank you. Your
and
time has
dependency.
expired, and our next speaker will be Jimena Villaseñor, who will be followed by the original draw.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jimena. I'm the International Business Affairs Coordinator at the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. And as many of you may know, as political advocates, one of our efforts that keeps us busy year round are our delegation trips to Washington, D.C., Sacramento, and Mexico City. We're heading back to Mexico's capital from October 8th through the 11th, and registration is still open to join over 90 business and community leaders, just to push for our region's most pressing priorities, just to overall enhance our quality of life, increase economic growth, and continue to leverage our proximity with our neighbors south of the border. So if your agenda is fully open, please don't miss out on this big opportunity to jointly advocate for our region and strengthen binational ties. You can find more information in the Chamber's website, or for those of you here in person, please feel free to come up to me and talk and answer any questions that I could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker will be the original draw. You can go ahead.
So interesting. We talk about, like wanting to create relations with the borders and all of this, but it's like, it's like you want to like create a relationship with your neighbor, but they keep shitting on your lawn, or like, going into your home and just like sleeping in there and doing whatever they want. And there's not really anything you can do, but it's like, let's work together. Let's like have a relationship where we're like benefiting from each other. And they'll be like, sure. And then you have this relationship where it seems like it's, going back and forth and even, but your neighbor keeps shitting on your lawn and going and staying in your home, but you're just allowing it because you're like, but I still want to have like a good relationship with them. That's what's going on here at the border. Like we want to have all of this like business going back and forth, but you never acknowledge that they're letting people across at astronomical levels. It's affecting everything in the county and many states across the nation, but we don't want to acknowledge that because we need them to come in so that they can have a vote.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Chair, my apologies. We did have one more person in the room who wanted to speak. Mike, if you'd like to step up to the podium, Mike will be our
Go
last
ahead.
speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to mention this here at the committee meeting because it's important here and at all the other committee meetings. A pattern's going on here, especially at the main meeting where Chairwoman Vargas is heading them up, and may not happen here, but people are being interrupted constantly, violating the Brown Act. They're not giving people a chance to talk. These topics, even things involving the border, may involve other topics. So many things get intermeshed together, and we already have only 60 seconds to talk. So if you can pass that along to other people, talk with one another about it, and really bring that forward to be a point to be looked at, it would actually potentially help facilitate trust. Because right now, trust is lacking. Trust is lacking, and that's a very state of thin ice these institutions are on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your comments. Any additional public comments?
That concludes the comments, Chair. Thank you.
Any other individuals that will want to comment? Seeing none, moving forward. Oh, sorry about that. I hate reading, but I will read this as well. You haven't had a chance to review the agenda of this morning's board of directors meeting. Is included the passage of a resolution for SANDAG to support the city of Imperial Beach and the city and county of San Diego in their proclamation of a local emergency for the Tijuana River Valley. It's important to mention that this borders committee will serve as a forum for collaboration to help address the transborder pollution and environmental crisis occurring in the Tijuana River Valley. This is certainly a topic that has been identified as a priority for our region. With this resolution passed, I am looking forward to continuing having a proactive role. I would like to add on a personal level that we have a similar situation with the New River in Imperial County, and I look forward to working with the county of San Diego and Supervisor Vargas on this specific issue as we take it to both the state, but specifically to the federal level, as this is a federal international issue. With that, do I have any board committee member comments? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon. I just wanted to share some additional information about the second of two 56-hour weekend closures we'll be putting forward. This will be happening through downtown San Diego on Interstate 5 to repair the bridge deck over State Route 163. So over the past month, we've been removing and replacing the older bridge deck concrete. And if you may remember, our first long weekend closure happened a couple weeks ago now in the southbound direction. We'll be doing that same work, but now switching and moving over into the northbound lanes. This work will be happening the weekend of September 29th through October 2nd. There are a few things we'll be doing differently with this closure. Because we are seeing that northbound traffic volumes are lower on the weekend, we will not be detouring all users off Interstate 5. We'll maintain at least one northbound lane open during this work. Again, the closure will begin Friday, September 29th in the evening, starting at 9 p.m. and end on Monday morning, October 2nd by 5 a.m. We will also be using this, taking this opportunity, this closure to allow our forces to clean, maintain, and inspect these hard to reach areas. Again, although not fully detouring people off I-5, we are asking San Diegans and our visitors to try to utilize transit to get in and around downtown. But if you do need to drive to use those ancillary routes, I'm using northbound State Route 15 or 805 to avoid any delays happening around downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the update for all of us, and also want to acknowledge that you got back to me ASAP on the issue involving reconstruction, repaving on Interstate 8 heading east from Alpine to Pine Valley. So thank you for that as well. With that, moving on to the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved, Chair Moreno.
Second.
I do have a motion by Member Moreno and a second by Member Anderson. Call for the vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. South County is absent today. For East County, Councilmember Dillard.
Yes.
For the City of San Diego, Councilmember Moreno.
Moreno, yes.
For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
For Imperial County, Vice Chair Escobar.
Yes.
For North County Coastal, Councilmember Drucker.
Drucker, yes.
And North County Inland is absent. And that item does pass unanimously with those members present.
Thank you, Francesca. Moving on to reports. I believe Victoria is going to give us a report. No? No. She's not. Okay, so I guess we're moving on to item 4? Okay. I was expecting a report. Moving on to item number 4, San Diego Imperial County Sustainable Freight Implementation Strategy. I'd like to welcome Tim Garrett. Garrett, welcome. Tim, I apologize. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Escobar and members of the Borders Committee. My name is Tim Garrett. I'm a regional planner here at SANDAG on the Strategic Partnerships team. Today, I'm here to talk give you an update on our San Diego and Imperial County's Sustainable Freight Implementation Strategy. All right. So freight is an essential part of our regional economy, and it also plays a significant role in our daily lives. This was clear during the pandemic with supply chain issues that we all experienced. That was came to light in the shortage of masks, chips for electronic goods, medical devices, as well as toilet paper, which the shelves were empty. But we also know that the communities that near and around freight facilities bear a disproportionate burden when it comes to air quality and pollution. In order to address these issues and meet state regulations, SANDAG, the Imperial County Transportation Commission, and Caltrans have been developing the Sustainable Freight Strategy. This plan intends to create a more sustainable supply chain network through regional freight projects, programs, and policies that aim to reduce emissions while still fostering trade to meet state climate, air quality, and public health goals. The key implementation objectives are to develop and strengthen partnerships between public agencies and the private sector, address environmental justice concerns from freight impacts, pilot innovative technologies, identify federal, state, and innovative funding sources for implementation, and also address workforce gaps in implementing new technologies by creating a workforce development toolkit. So here's a timeline of the project. Since this project kicked off about a year ago, a little over a year ago now, our team has conducted literature review and analysis of best practice in sustainable freight. So through this research, we learned that the city of Santa Monica in California became the first city in the United States to pilot a zero emissions delivery zone. We also learned about cargo bike pilots being implemented really all around the country, but including in New York, Fort Lauderdale, Pittsburgh, Seattle, as well as Portland. We then engaged in a number of public outreach efforts, which I'll cover in a future slide. And then we're making progress now on components of the implementation plan, which is highlighted here in green. We anticipate finalizing this strategy in early 2024. So over the course of the project, the team has been seeking feedback from folks throughout a wide range of outreach efforts. As I covered at the beginning, freight is important for everyone. And so we wanted to develop and implement a robust outreach plan to engage stakeholders throughout both counties. So through this project, we conducted 10 stakeholder interviews and held 4 virtual focus groups from different sectors, which included health organizations, community-based organizations, workforce development, and labor organizations, as well as freight industry and business organizations. We also conducted a public survey, which was open to the public earlier this year for 5 weeks. We also collaborated with numerous community-based organizations to help promote the survey in the communities. We received over 150 responses on the survey, and we are incorporating the feedback from all of these different forms of outreach as we prioritize strategies through this project. We've also presented to committees and working groups, and that includes the Tribal Technical Working Group, AB 617 communities in the Portside International Border Community, as well as the Calexico El Centro Heber community in Imperial County, Tijuana San Diego Air Quality Task Force, the Transportation Committee here at SANDAG, as well as the Borders Committee today. And one more I want to call out is the Imperial Mexicali Binational Alliance, as well as community events, including SDG&E's EV Fleet Day. So what did we learn from all of these efforts? Well, for one thing, there's local impacts for certain folks, including noise, traffic emissions, and safety. But other members, they're not right next to these facilities. They don't notice it as much. Broadly, there's a lot of enthusiasm for reducing environmental justice concerns and improving equity. There's also, we heard concern that increased regulation could impose a burden on the freight industry and ultimately pass on costs to consumers. We heard concern about economic opportunities, as well as we heard from workforce development organizations, colleges, and labor organizations that those groups are developing new curricula to help promote new technologies, but they have a need to recruit workers. So we developed an evaluation process through this study where we looked at existing projects from each regional plan applying to both counties. But we also developed new strategies. With our goal in mind, our team developed screening criteria to balance the different priorities of sustainable freight, which are shown on the left-hand side here. These include equity, where we looked at whether project benefits would benefit the most vulnerable communities. Environment, where we consider the potential impact on reducing emissions and pollutants. And economy and competitiveness, where we consider the efficiency and capacity of the freight industry to benefit consumers, businesses, and employees throughout the counties. On the right are the different project types that we were evaluating, including port of entry projects, rail projects, and many others. And this also helps to identify projects that might be considered for inclusion in future efforts, such as the 2025 regional plan. So looking at the equity, environment, and economic benefits of all of these projects, some of the highest priority ones are shown here for illustration. So some of these include truck-only lanes on segments of roadways where we know trucks are going to be traveling. And this includes areas like industrial and warehouse districts, rail yards, and as well as ports of entry. Grade separations, separating conflict points between railroads and roadways. for reducing idling as well as safety concerns. Truck parking areas and improving them with amenities such as idling reduction technology. So truck parking areas are really important because drivers need to rest periodically in order to comply with hour of service requirements, which are federal. So ultimately, this is about improving safety for the drivers as well as the general public. But if we can add amenities at some of these truck stops to include idling reduction equipment, zero emission charging, this allows the drivers to rest as well as recharge and not have to idle while they're waiting. This would support the build out of a regionally accessible public charging network and supporting a transition to zero emission trucks consistent with state goals. And the final strategy I've highlighted here is a port of entry appointment system, because as many of you know, it's typical for trucks as well as other folks to spend multiple hours waiting to cross at the commercial ports of entry, which results in air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, and reduced economic output. We know that this process can be made more efficient through strategies such as a commercial vehicle appointment system, where a truck driver is planning to cross the border can reserve a time and reduce queuing and idling during that process. Continuing with more projects that we've considered, wireless in-road electric charging is a promising one that would encourage the use of electric trucks, especially those crossing the border. Another concept is creating an enhanced truck route, which would extend from the Otay Mesa and the future Otay Mesa East ports of entry, from there to the Port of San Diego's marine terminals. This could be accomplished by dedicating truck-only lanes on freeways and arterial roads, as well as using technology like freight signal priority to make the travel smooth and efficient. We also consider the use of truck bypass routes so that trucks don't have to go through the main streets of small towns, including imperial counties like Westmoreland. We propose to upgrade truck parking facilities, like I said, with zero emission charging and fueling. And this could be applied both at publicly owned and operated rest stops like the ones that Caltrans operates, as well as privately owned ones like TruckNet and Otay Mesa that recently opened zero emission charging. And then finally, safety improvements on other roads like turn pockets and passing lanes where appropriate for improving safety. Beyond infrastructure projects, we also consider policies that could be implemented in the region. So some of these are meant to incentivize the use of low and zero emission vehicles. Others are meant to improve truck routing efficiency by removing geometric restrictions on certain parts of the truck network. We also consider variable tolling, which is planned to be implemented at the Otay Mesa East port of entry, as well as developing land use recommendations for industrial areas. Some of the proposed programs include updating the 511 system, which would include better information for truck travelers throughout the region, offering greater purchase incentives for zero emission trucks and off-road equipment, pilots for curb management and other last mile delivery strategies, promoting the use of cargo bikes and delivery lockers, converting locomotives to low and zero emissions technology, and funding more truck charging and parking sites throughout the region. So now that we've identified and evaluated all of these strategies, we're looking at how to implement them, which means identifying high-level cost estimates, looking at potential funding sources, and outlining a phasing strategy. We're identifying training programs now that provide the workforce with skills needed to operate and maintain this new technology, including zero emission technology. And we know from our outreach that workforce development organizations are working on this, but obviously there's a need to recruit workers. So hopefully our workforce development toolkit will help to address this need and bridge that gap. So we've got our contact information here for folks primarily working on the project. Mariela Rodriguez, not here at the presentation today, but she's the project manager. Myself, Tim Garrett, as well as Jose Marquez Chavez with Caltrans, who is a member of the project development team. So feel free, we encourage you to follow up with us if you have any questions after the presentation today. And with that, I'll turn it back to Vice Chair Escobar to take any questions.
Tim, thank you for the presentation. Francesca, public comment?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment, the original draw. You can go ahead when you're ready.
I don't know what's going on, but you guys skip consent and you're supposed to let people speak on that. It's rather ridiculous. You need to go back and revisit that because you're violating the Brown Act. Anyway, so all this zero emissions, you guys are acting like this is going to help, you know, the supply chain get where it needs to go. That is false information. I have personal family who is in this job doing freight and giving supplies to other people. There is no way they can accomplish the routes that they need to with this kind of technology where you're making them charge it and all of this stuff. You're actually going to put a hindrance on it immensely. And that's the whole point. Like, you guys are lying out of your teeth. And they have to cross county lines as well. So what happens when the county that they're crossing over to doesn't have the same technology that you need them to use? You actually stifle everybody getting the needs that they need. It's ridiculous that you continue to lie, and you need to revisit the consent agenda because you just skipped it.
Any additional public comments, Francesca?
That does conclude the comments on this item, Chair.
Bringing this back to the dais, any member comments? Ms. Moreno?
Thank you. I can't let you go without me saying a few comments, right? Vivian Moreno here, City of San Diego. I have the honor of representing Otay Mesa, the second most important commercial crossing in the nation, bringing in about $50 billion worth of commerce to our region. And I can't stress enough how important these studies are, specifically when we are lobbying our state and federal agencies. Just yesterday, I attended Assembly Member Alvarez's Make It in Mexico conference, where he brought a few folks from the state of California to come down and really see how we work in the border region. And we definitely, we are getting a lot of attention, right? Especially in the media, regarding the importance of the border region. I think these studies really exemplify why folks in Sacramento and in DC need to be funding a lot of our projects. I know us in District 8, we were instrumental in getting La Media Road, an agricultural road, to be built out to a 5-lane thoroughfare, which it should be, because we have 4,000 trucks crossing the border, obviously with the help of SANDAG and Caltrans. But these studies make it easier to go up to SAC and say, hey, we need the CTC funding, especially to the governor. We need this funding because these are not only city issues, these are state and federal issues, if you will. So thank you for this. When are you planning to present? I'm sure you're working with Otay Mesa Chamber of Commerce, with Alejandra and all the folks. When will you be back for an update?
Whenever you'd like to have us. I'd say the project, so we're planning on wrapping up in January, February, I believe. So probably January would be a great time to come back, as long as that works with the schedule for the Borders Committee, when we'll have our final strategy ready to present.
Yeah, I think this would be good. And I think it would also be prudent for, I hate to say this, but for the board, to folks on the board to know how important this region is for the economy of San Diego and the state of California. Mexico is our #1 trading partner in the state of California. And from what I see in your presentation, not only in the state of California, but it goes back and forth with Canada for the whole nation. So we definitely need to make sure that the infrastructure around these very important ports of entries reflect the commerce that's happening and are able to take the amount of commerce. I know in Tijuana they're struggling a lot, especially in the Bellas Artes road with a lot of congestion. And so thank you for the work that you're doing on this. I think it's an informational item, so no motion is needed, but thank you, Chair, for the time.
And board member. Do you have any other committee comments? Seeing none, this does not require an action. This is just informational. Okay, so first of all, thank you, Tim. Congratulations. Great job on the presentation. And I look forward to continued updates on this project.
Very good. Thanks.
Under consent, there was one item that was not included, which is item 3, Bike Anywhere and Tijuaneando in BC Cross-Border Celebration Update, which should have been under consent. So I will recircle back under consent items 2 and 3.
Vice Chair, could we get a motion to reconsider that item?
So the same individuals that made the initial motion, Councilmember Moreno and Supervisor Anderson, made a motion and a second. Before we take it to a vote, do you have any public comments?
Thank you. I just want to give folks a moment to raise their hands. So we're going to take public comment on both items 2 and 3, just to clarify the original draw. You can go ahead when you're ready.
It's just ridiculous. You guys like skip through things and then you have to be told like to go back and revisit it. You like have these items that you're just passing. So, I mean, obviously you already took a vote. Are you going to vote again? I mean, it's wasting people's time, but anything that we're doing with Tijuana, it doesn't make any sense when they are literally dumping sewer into the ocean and it's affecting us. I don't understand why you guys continue to allow that and act like we need to claim it's an emergency because then we can get money from the federal and the state government and all this, which comes from the people. But you're willing to do work with them without going like, hey, can we stop this? Can we do something about this? Like, you know where the source is, but you refuse to acknowledge it and do anything about it by going to them and saying, like, let's stop this so that we can, you know, help both of ourselves. But instead, you want to engage with them and doing all of this climate BS and helping them benefit when then we have to suffer. You're making your own people suffer because you're working with people that are screwing you over and you don't care.
That concludes the public comments.
Thank you. Other comments? With that, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Francesca?
Thank you. South County is absent. For East County, Councilmember Dillard.
Yes.
For the City of San Diego, Councilmember Moreno. So we're retaking the vote on the minutes.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. I vote yes.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson. For Imperial County, Vice Chair Escobar.
Yes.
For North County Coastal, Councilmember Drucker.
Yes.
And North County Inland is absent, and that item does pass unanimously with those members present.
Thank you, Francesca. Moving on to item number 5, zero emission freight transition at the California Baja California border study. I'd like to invite Ms. Andrea Hoff. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair and members of the Border Committee. Thank you for your time this afternoon. My name is Andrea Hoff. I'm a Senior Project Manager here at SANDAG, and I will be leading this presentation discussing a white paper that was recently completed dealing with the zero emission freight transition at the California-Baja California border. Quickly, a summary of what I'll be discussing. I'll discuss a bit of background on the white paper. I'll dive into some details about border region freight flows. I'll talk about benefits of zero emission freight at the border, as well as some industry challenges associated with this transition, some economic implications, and followed by some opportunities. This white paper was a collaboration between SANDAG and Caltrans, a partnership as well with the Imperial County Transportation Commission, and it was intended to respond to several discussions happening at federal and state levels, including the high-level economic dialogue, which is a policy dialogue between our President of the United States and the President of Mexico. One of their foci recently has been the transition to zero-emission freight. At about the same time, the Commission of the Californias, which includes our governor and those of Baja California and Baja California Sur, they were also discussing the transition to zero emission freight. And so this paper was an attempt to contribute to that discussion and ensure that attention was paid to the needs and characteristics of our unique border community. The study is based on existing literature as well as interviews with freight stakeholders, particularly industry stakeholders, economic analysis, and was conducted by, as I mentioned, a multi-departmental and multi-agency team. To start out, the paper points out that the Southern California border region is really the core of California's freight economy. We have what has been referred to as a freight triangle that really links the manufacturing sector in Tijuana, northern Baja California, to the Inland Empire, and then to Los Angeles with the ports of LA and Long Beach. And again, this freight triangle is really not only the core of our economy, but an essential piece of the economy of the entire nation and of Mexico. To help illustrate that point, these graphics show on the left the economic benefits that our studies have shown, which result from the freight crossing our southern border through our regional ports of entry, contributing 22 billion, nearly 23 billion in economic output for California, and even more economic output for the entire nation. Recent updates to our study show about 60% of that economic output is benefiting the entire nation and 40% is staying in California. On the right, the blue states that you see highlighted are the top 10 states that benefit from the goods that cross back and forth across our regional ports of entry. Massachusetts is number 1, Texas is number 2. It's worth noting that every single state in the nation benefits somehow from the freight that crosses our borders, and these are only the top 10. And you can see the impacts on gross domestic product there in the legend. Another key characteristic of our goods movement in our region, especially at the border, is that it is dominated by trucks. You can see that clearly here on the left with the 2019 freight value through regional gateways. So the value through the airport, which handles freight, the value through the Port of San Diego, the value through the land ports of entry in San Diego and Imperial County. And as you can see, the land ports of entry, whereby freight is transported by truck, exceeds in value significantly from the other gateways. In addition, the volume is also much higher via truck, and that's just a characteristic of our goods movement network here in the region. I'd like to point out that over 1.4 million northbound trucks moved through our region's 3 commercial land ports of entry in 2021, with an assumed equal number of southbound trips. So we're looking at 3 million trucks back and forth annually. So some of what we found upon interviewing freight stakeholders, mostly industry stakeholders, was that the new regulations, particularly the Clean Fleet, Advanced Clean Fleet rule, passed at the state level, is really forcing carriers and shippers to rethink their entire supply chains. And the reason for this is that the timing of routes, the number and type of drivers, the locations of the routes and where they're going to stop, the cost of operating, the cost of purchasing trucks, maintaining those trucks, and having drivers safely operate those trucks needs to be rethought in order to transition to the zero emission trucks. We heard that they handle differently. They might not have currently the same range. The batteries are much heavier, thereby potentially reducing the payload that truck could carry, creating the need for additional trucks to carry the same amount of goods. And so really just a lot of uncertainty. Companies were facing unknowns, basically citing the overall cost of driving as the main concern. We also know that there are significant benefits to the zero emission freight transition. Several folks have pointed out, rightly so, that particulate matter, PM 2.5, for example, is dangerous for folks that live near it for long periods of time. And the San Diego International Border Community was designated through Assembly Bill 617 and CARB, as you're probably familiar, as one of these communities that suffers these disadvantages and suffers disproportionate impacts from freight movement. San Ysidro, for example, have nearly 30,000 residents that have population burdens in addition to suffering from pollution, such as 86%, the 86th percentile for poverty, 79th percentile for unemployment. 89th percentile for education. And these are compounding the impacts of environmental pollution that they're breathing. We also learned that the economic implications of, based on our research, which was again qualitative mostly, in addition to some economic analysis, that costs could be significant for medium duty and heavy duty truck operators in particular. The market for electric vehicles that are medium and heavy duty is about 5 years behind that of personal vehicles. The price and performance are not equal to their diesel counterparts currently. And regulations for high priority fleets could represent a penalty in this unclear regulatory and infrastructure context. Keep in mind, we focused on cross-border trucking. So this study was really unique to those trucks that are crossing the border. Many times they're dual plated, their company is domiciled in Mexico, they're not available. The incentives that we provide to folks, to trucks that are domiciled here would not be available to those fleets. And many of them do fall into the high priority fleet category. There was concern that routes might bypass California, perhaps entering the United States through Arizona instead, where the regulations are less stringent. And higher shipping costs could lead to some decline in marginal economic activity. And I know this dovetails well with Tim's presentation. And he also mentioned that the rise in prices throughout the supply chain extends from the producer to the consumer. These were essentially the 4 categories of challenges that we identified. The first being inconsistency in air quality regulations in California versus Mexico. Inconsistency between California and other states. Secondly, as I mentioned, the range, the weight, and the cost limitations of battery electric trucks are not equal to the their diesel counterparts currently. There's concern about a lack of charging and fueling infrastructure in addition to truck parking, and a general sentiment that the messaging and outreach could be enhanced. There have been numerous attempts, some since the publishing of this white paper, to enhance that outreach, and there's various workshops being arranged down in the border regions to help explain the regulations. Nonetheless, they can be very confusing, hard to understand. And I thought it was worth noting that one interviewee suggested that 2 really successful communication campaigns in the border region were the no dumping in the storm drain campaign, and that's why I have an image of that here, that really used pictures to illustrate the problem to people rather than numbers. And the COVID-19 vaccination campaign was also very successful. So just trying to draw on best practices based on folks' perspectives. Finally, in addition to identifying challenges, we identified opportunities, and many of these are included in the sustainable freight implementation strategy that Tim just talked about. They include consideration for overweight corridors, given the heavier batteries requiring a reduction in payload. Exemptions, incentives, exploring the possibility for extending those to folks that are doing cross-border trucking. The border appointment system, strengthening training and outreach, building infrastructure near, at, and south of the border, streamlining permitting for such infrastructure, pilot projects, and of course, reduction in border wait times. And I have illustrated here on the right an image of the proposed Otay Mesa East Port of Entry, which one of the key goals of that project is to reduce border wait times, but there are also other opportunities to work with Customs and Border Protection and other stakeholders along the border to continue to try to get those wait times down so that there's not a lot of idling and unnecessary air pollution. Creative tolling could be implied, and various interviewees suggested that hydrogen technology has been ignored, not ignored, but less of a focus than battery electric technology, and hydrogen seems to some interviewees to be more comparable to diesel and could be a useful interim solution. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. Do we have public comments?
Yes, the original draw. You can go ahead when you're ready.
You should give people more than a minute when you ain't got nobody there. But I mean, everything that you guys are sitting there talking about are the reasons why you shouldn't be doing this, because there are no benefits. You are going to put a huge, significant increase in the amount of time that it takes for them to get places, the weight of that, like when they can't even take a load that they need to, it's going to cause significant problems in people getting the products that they need. So I don't understand how we can sit there and know that there's all of these issues that will come into play, like other countries or counties enforcing the same things and having the same infrastructure for these people to use as they're going across different borders. It doesn't make things easier. It literally puts a stop in people's ability to get all of the products that they depend on. So I don't understand why we want to do this when everything that you say about why we're doing it is BS. I mean, because diesel is used to make these batteries.
Thank you. That concludes the public commenters.
Thank you, Francesca. Bringing it back to the board. Any member comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you for the presentation. Under G, regulations and policy related challenges, you cite inconsistencies in California and Mexico industry and air quality regulations being one of the 4 challenges. Can you expand on that? Or can you give an example of one of the inconsistencies that pops up?
Certainly. The one that pops up first and foremost for me, and out of this research, is that the air quality regulations in Mexico south of the border just aren't as stringent as the ones on this side. Yet the trucks that are crossing need to comply with the California regulations, but aren't accessing don't have the same regulatory framework in their country or the same support.
Okay. Thank you. That's a good one, right? Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation. And that concludes my questions and comments.
Thank you. Member Drucker, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I would make a couple comments on this. One, Massachusetts was the first, and my guess is that's because of all the biotech devices that are built at the border. They're not going to Massachusetts. The money, the revenue is going to Massachusetts. So it'd be interesting to understand really actually where the goods are going rather than the revenue is going. Number 2 is it would be wonderful if SANDAG would consider putting a freight train up I-15. That would help in terms of a lot of the pollution in terms of on the US side. And it would also allow the freight to get where the freight needs to get to, which is the warehouse capital of the world, Ontario and Corona and San Bernardino. So I would love to see that happen. I've been advocating that for years. I know it's not on the RTP, but it would be nice if that would eventually happen. It would also, specifically for Del Mar, if there was no freight trains coming up on the coast, the whole configuration and the way the rail goes up, the Los Angeles corridor goes up to LA could be totally reconfigured for light rail instead of having to worry about heavy rail.
Thank you, Member Drucker. Any additional member comments? Seeing none, I do have one. Could you pull up page 10, please? Councilmember Moreno and Andrea, you also mentioned this, but I really wanted to go into more detail on item number 1, inconsistency in California, Mexico industry and air quality regulations. There has been improvement, obviously, because now Mexican trucks are allowed to cross into California to deliver goods, assuming they meet specific guidelines. Now, my question to you in this study, is there tangible improvements that have been seen across the board, not just with trucks crossing the border, but in general, based on evolution, laws, regulations, etc. Where have we seen an improvement on the Mexican side when it comes to the pollution associated with goods movement?
Thank you for your question. Although I can't speak to, I'll speak in generalizations and from the observations that we gained through this study. Indeed, there has been improvement. I don't have the air quality data in order to say if pollution has actually, what the change has been. However, the regulations and the willingness and the collaboration between folks in Mexico and governments in Mexico and the work that we're doing on this side of the border has definitely increased, and particularly after this, after much of the dialogue around zero emissions has sort of gained traction. We presented this paper to the California Transportation Commission in May, and since then have gathered an interagency sort of working group with even with folks from Arizona to try to find solutions. And I do believe that traction is being made and progress is being made and the willingness is there.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I think a correlation probably exists, even though I'm not an economist. I think it's pretty clear that population increases along the border and obviously the economic boom that some of these goods moving from point A to point B are creating, obviously are causing significant increases in volume, which obviously causes the pollution. So it's almost like a vicious circle here. We're trying to fix one, yet other areas are increasing. So no matter what you do to fix A, it's causing B, which is still, you know what I mean? I mean, it's hard to explain, but again, it's logical at the same time. I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Any final comments prior to moving on to the next item? Seeing none. Reimaginando Tijuana. This will be a very interesting conversation. Tijuana Innovadora, a community organization in Tijuana, began a citizens consultation exercise about the city they want and seeks to generate changes by showing what citizens want for their city. Don José, bienvenido, adelante.
Si todos tengan, I don't know if everybody has here because I'm going to speak in Spanish. Okay, Tijuana is ahí. Tijuana is there. It's not going to move. It's going to be part of our environment anyway. It's going to be everyday problem, and we will have good things and bad things like CVX. That has been a successful story about how we can cooperate together. Okay, cuando en español, cuando yo voy a un café en Tijuana, me siento con mis amigos y me encuentro con que se quejan de que hay muchos baches, hay problemas de tránsito, hay problemas de agua, hay problemas de luz, hay problemas de seguridad, hay problemas y problemas y problemas y problemas. Y yo digo, ¿por qué no hacemos algo para resolver los problemas como ciudadanos? Cuando vino la pandemia nos hizo retrasar nuestros proyectos y convertirlos y dejar de hacer cosas, pero ya se acabó la pandemia hace rato, ya hay mucho que hacer. Entonces hemos planeado esta idea que les voy a platicar. Adelante. La primera ciudad que yo conozco, que yo tengo conocimiento que se hizo exprofeso para ser capital de un imperio, fue la capital azteca, fue Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan era una pequeña ciudad, no existía. Nosotros los aztecas veníamos del norte, veníamos del estrecho de Bering, veníamos corriendo hacia el sur con el frío, comiendo ratas, comiendo perros, comiendo lo que se podía y buscando lo que el destino manifiesto de los dioses habían dicho, que encontraríamos un lugar donde crearíamos una nación, los aztecas. Y bueno, encontraron un lugar que estaba en una laguna donde una águila estaba devorando a una serpiente. Y llegaron ahí y eran nómadas. de pronto se convirtieron en constructores, crearon esta hermosísima ciudad arquitectónica, crearon los sistemas agrícolas de chinampas en el agua, crearon crearon sistemas de guerra, fuimos grandes guerreros y crearon el Imperio Azteca. Adelante. París era una ciudad sucia, fea, horrible. Ustedes vieron Los Miserables, vieron todas las cosas que ocurrieron en las obras de teatro. Esta ciudad, esta calle no existía y el Arco de Triunfo no existía. Tuvieron que cambiar la ciudad, lo hicieron hace 150 años, hicieron una avenida que se llama Los Campos Elíseos y de pronto nos encontramos con una ciudad imperial, una ciudad digna de los franceses. Estados Unidos, cuando se creó y que independizó, hubo una gran discusión. Hay quien dijo, yo quiero que sea Virginia la capital. No, New Hampshire. No, yo quiero que sea cualquier otra. Decían que no era posible, que para tener un imperio había que crear una ciudad imperial digna de un país y de una potencia. Hicieron Washington. Brasil decidió también que era necesario invadir Brasil, que era necesario entrar al Amazonas y crear un Brasilia. Brasil es el palacio de la derecha, es la iglesia, y de la izquierda se llama la Alborada, pero hicieron una ciudad tan grande que para comprar tortillas hay que caminar 500 metros, si quieren ponerle queso a la tortilla hay que caminar 500 metros, si quieren ponerle chile a la tortilla con queso hay que caminar 500 metros, imposible de vivir, gigantesca, enorme. La Embajada de México en Brasil es una de las más bellas y la hizo un amigo mío que vivía aquí, que se llamaba Jack Wiener, si alguien lo conoció, lo reconozco. México tuvo un emperador, no sé si se enteraron, tuvo un emperador, los franceses invadieron México y tuvimos un emperador, y el emperador también traía ideas importantes, hizo el castillo de Chapultepec, hizo una avenida a nombre de su esposa, iba a ser la avenida de la emperatriz, una avenida preciosa, y de pronto pues perdió, lo mataron, lo fusilaron, y la calle esa se volvió el Paseo de la Reforma, que es una ciudad imperial, es una ciudad, una calle imperial que permite que México tenga un aspecto muy grande y positivo y termina en el Zócalo mexicano. Él se llamaba Maximiliano de Habsburgo. Roma es una ciudad que, como Tijuana, está llena de pequeños cerros, montañitas. Entonces, para vivir en la ciudad y para darle un aspecto agradable, fueron creando diferentes partes de la ciudad, como donde está la Fontana de Trevi, donde están las escalinatas españolas. Adelante. La ciudad que más me gusta en el mundo se llama Florencia. Yo en toda mi vida fui muy buen alumno. Fui de los niños que se sentaban enfrente, fue de los que siempre sacaba 10, yo me portaba bien, pero cuando yo fui a buscar Gucci, que tenía su oficina aquí en Florencia, y llegué y vi la ciudad, y por primera vez en la vida no me la pinté. No trabajé 3 días y no conseguí Gucci, pero vi una ciudad preciosa. Los árabes descubrieron que no es importante tener un harem, que los harem cuestan mucho dinero y que tener 1000 mujeres tiene un problema. Tiene aparejadas 1000 suegras y 1000 parientes. Entonces es imposible vivir así. Y decidieron que ahora van a crear ciudades. Y decidieron crear Qatar, la primera ciudad. Decidieron crear una ciudad digna de un imperio, una ciudad moderna. Y fueron, por ejemplo, con Dior. Y le dijeron, oye, Dior, vente, tráete tu tienda a Qatar. Sí, pero pues, cuesta $5 millones. ¡Pum! Te los doy. Oye, pero Qatar, tengo un problema. No, ¿cuánto voy a pagar de renta? Nada. Oye, Qatar, ¿y cómo voy a hacer con los impuestos? No hay impuestos en Qatar. Y de pronto empezaron a jalar economías y de pronto pequeños emiratos de 400,000 personas, de pronto crearon estas enormes ciudades. Todo lo que voy a enseñar enseguida tiene menos de 20 años. Adelante. Este es Doha. Y hicieron algo muy importante que quiero que hicieron pequeñas ciudades. No es una gran ciudad Doha, no es una gran ciudad Qatar, son pequeñas ciudades de 15 minutos donde uno puede desplazarse en ese espacio en 15 minutos. Hicieron los estadios deportivos, copiaron y trajeron de Europa algunos de los edificios importantes o de los conceptos importantes. Este es el metro y este metro, ¿cuánto creen que cuesta el metro ahí? Cuesta nada, es gratis, pero hace esto efecto. Si vives en pequeñas ciudades de 15 minutos, puedes trasladarte de una ciudad a otra. Aquí vives en tu ciudad y te trasladas a velocidad a otras de las pequeñas ciudades que forman el conglomerado de la gran ciudad. El espacio donde ellos viven es el espacio de los Emiratos Árabes, pero fíjense que hay dos gigantes ahí enfrente, uno que se llama Irán y otro que se llama Arabia Saudita. Y Arabia Saudita, que es el gorila de todos, el más rico de todos, dijo, no van a ser ustedes los más ricos, no van a ser las ciudades más modernas, yo las voy a hacer. Y está haciendo estas ciudades. Abu Dhabi, otra pequeña ciudad. Y también, quiero que vean algo importante, hicieron este edificio que está del lado derecho y encima hicieron una cancha de tenis. ¿Por qué? Porque quieren llamar la atención del mundo y Federer, el tenista, ahí jugó. Si yo estuviera en el edificio, se había agarrado de un poste, pero ellos juegan tenis arriba. Son pequeñas ciudades que concentran la gran ciudad. Lo que hace la ciudad vivible son conceptos modernos. Arabia Saudita, les decía, es el gigante y está haciendo esas dos enormes nuevas ciudades extraordinarias para el mundo, que es en el caso a mí me llama la atención la de abajo, porque no entiendo cómo va a ser una ciudad como enterrada. En 5 años van a estar terminadas. Los invito a que vayamos a ver cómo lo hicieron. Esto es lo que vi cuando en la habitación donde yo me hospedé en el hotel. Habla de hacer la ciudad, las cosas para que funcionen. Muy bien. Hace 20 años fuimos nosotros a una ciudad que era bochornoso, vergonzoso vivir en ella, que era Bilbao. Vivía junto al Cantábrico, que es el mar más feo del mundo. Estaba lleno de guerrilla, estaba lleno de suciedad, de hollín en las paredes, tremendo, porque los coreanos les habían robado el negocio de hacer barcos, no tenían para comer y decidieron los empresarios cambiar la ciudad. Y decidieron cambiarla y se llevaron, entre otros, a Frank Gehry, que es un arquitecto que hizo los estudios de Los Ángeles de Disney. Y Frank Gehry, cuando comí con él ahí, me hizo este ejemplo. Me dijo, mira, Pepe, la tecnología moderna permite que esto sea un edificio. Este es el diseño de un edificio. Hoy puedo hacer cosas que nadie se podía hacer. Y en el centro de la ciudad hicieron un museo, el Guggenheim. ¿Por qué? Porque querían detener que la gente del norte de Europa pasara por Bilbao y empezaba a tomar y se iba. Ahora querían detenerlo con y cambiaron la parte más sucia de la ciudad, la hicieron este hermoso barco que es el Guggenheim. Otra foto. Y el puerto lo sacaron al mar. En lugar de tenerlo en medio de la ciudad lleno de basura, lo sacaron al mar. Este es su metro. Las ciudades se desplazan por metros. ¿Por qué? Porque el metro no estorba, aunque nosotros tenemos el troley aquí. Adelante. Bueno, pues la universidad le hicieron la Universidad de Europa. Pero no solo ellos están haciendo eso. ¿Pero por qué está pasando eso? Porque si ustedes y yo viviéramos hace 200, 300 años, hubiéramos sido campesinos, pero nos hemos volcado a las ciudades. El 70% de la gente hoy vive en las ciudades. Entonces están haciendo otras ciudades importantes como Singapur, por ejemplo, está haciendo aquel edificio del lado derecho. Arriba, ¿qué creen que hay? Arriba hay una alberca y una cafetería. Por supuesto, yo fui a tomar café. Del lado izquierdo, vean ese edificio hecho como flor. Hoy día se puede diseñar cosas maravillosas. Adelante. Este es el skyline de Shanghái, que era antes el fumadero de opio del mundo. Adelante. Este es Tijuana. ¿Ok? Y voy a mostrarles rápidamente una serie de edificios que están en Tijuana, que están actualmente en Tijuana. Este es el Museo del Niño. Estos son edificios icónicos de la ciudad. Estas son las torres de gemelas que están frente al campestre. Este es la bola, el centro cultural. Esto nos regaló Kennedy, era escuela y es museo, y es parte de arte. Esta es una universidad de ingenieros. Tijuana produce más ingenieros que San Diego. Tiene 2 escuelas de ingeniería. Ayer di una plática en la Escuela de Ingeniería Segunda. Tienen 3,500 estudiantes y todos los estudiantes en el momento que salen de la escuela están empleados automáticamente. Hay tanta necesidad de ingenieros que están empleados. Que es de los de escuela, es de la universidad. Son diversos edificios de la ciudad. ¿Quién está viviendo en esos edificios? ¿Y por qué? Yo diré que muchos americanos, 140,000 americanos cruzan diario a trabajar a San Diego y duermen en Tijuana. Se llama Tijuana Pijama, porque la gente está yendo a dormir allá, pero trabaja aquí y le cuesta mucho menos vivir ahí. Le cuesta $300,000 un departamento que vale aquí $1 millón. Este es un centro comercial, este es un fenómeno que habría que explicar largo. Tijuana, si vivíamos en Tijuana hace algunos años, hace unos 5 años, hubiéramos dicho, let's go to San Diego to shopping. Hoy han abierto 5 centros comerciales o 6 y la gente está comprando en Tijuana. Este es un centro comercial que se llama Península. Es otro centro comercial, nuevos centros comerciales. Estos son edificios hospitales. Hay en este momento construcción de 5 hospitales de más de $100 millones cada uno. Este hospital tiene 500 médicos. La última parte del hospital interesante es que tiene un hospital para perros y gatos y los asegura aquí en Estados Unidos. Si ustedes tienen un perro o un gato y quieren que se lo cuiden, pueden llevarlo ahí. Este es un edificio. ¿Qué hay en el edificio? ¿Qué hay en el piso 20 que están viendo ahí ustedes? ¿Qué existe? ¿Qué creen que hay? Hay una alberca, igual que la de Singapur, nomás que esta está cerrada. Están preciosos edificios que se pueden habitar adelante. Es otro edificio, por supuesto, otra torre. Este es el Culinary School de Tijuana, es probablemente el más importante de todo el área. Es precioso lugar. Si tienen la oportunidad de ver algo maravilloso, deben de ir a ver el Culinary School de Tijuana. Este es un parque que estamos haciendo gigante junto al gran, a la presa que existe. Esta casa es mía, en el medio de la zona más peligrosa de Tijuana. Tengo esta casa que ha ganado campeonatos de arquitectura. Ahí educamos a los niños de un barrio muy difícil y tenemos niños que irían a trabajar al negocio de la familia, que es muy feo, a los 12 años y que hoy tengo más de 80 entre prepa y universidad. Acabamos de terminar un camp para los niños del barrio, un camp gratis. Estamos creando, en Tijuana tuvo la suerte de que llegó la Madre Teresa 4 veces a Tijuana. Y Tijuana, pues pienso yo que es necesario hacer un santuario para la Madre Teresa, y entonces me ofrecieron ese terreno que tiene una altura de 35 metros en la parte de arriba y donde estamos haciendo este pequeño santuario en Tijuana. Simple como era la Madre Teresa, sencillo, adelante.
Will we be able to make out of Tijuana the modern and functional city that our children deserve?
Adelante. Estos son los problemas de la ciudad.
Regulation of healthcare, seguridad, movilidad, medio ambiente, los cruces fronterizos son todos los problemas, agua, movilidad, el problema de casas, de residencias, energía eléctrica, basura,
y publicidad y contaminación.
Estos son los problemas que toda la gente me dice en las calles. Estos son los problemas de la ciudad. Son muchos, son terribles, pero bueno, adelante.
Oportunidades.
¿Qué oportunidades tiene Tijuana? ¿Dónde está el dinero? No estamos ganando dinero. Tenemos, todos los días exportamos 200 millones de dólares en diferentes artículos. ¿Quién de ustedes juega golf? Levante la mano, por favor. ¿Juega golf? Bueno, los dos palos más famosos del mundo son Callaway y TaylorMade. Ambos se fabrican en Tijuana. El otro día fue una fábrica, llegué en la mañana, empezaron a trabajar, a producir. Todo lo que hicieron en el día lo vendieron en un día, al día siguiente igual, eran televisiones. ¿Me creerían que en ese día hicieron 100,000 televisiones que vendieron diario? Eso es lo que está pasando en la ciudad. Adelante.
Algunas ideas, un concurso de arquitectura.
Son ideas que voy a pasar. Adelante. ¿Cómo tenemos que planear y hacer que las cosas pasen? We have to make things happen. Tijuana Innovadora acepta el reto, accept the challenge. Y estamos contratando a una compañía del 14 de julio al 14 de julio del año que entra para planear la ciudad, no la ciudad que Pepe quiere, no la ciudad que Claudia quiere, la ciudad que los ciudadanos quieren. La estamos planeando extraordinariamente bien y en un año vamos a tener un rediseño de Tijuana. Vamos a replantear la ciudad. Estamos tomando el viejo correo de Tijuana y estamos pidiendo que nos los den para así hacer una maqueta, un make-up, una maqueta gigante donde ustedes, los ciudadanos de Tijuana, van a decir cómo quieren su ciudad y ahí va a haber proyectos y proyectos y proyectos que vamos a sacar de esto. Yo soy miembro del board de Tel Aviv, de la ciudad de Tel Aviv. Y el alcalde de Tel Aviv es mi amigo y él lo que hace es que tiene proyectos de diferentes cosas en la ciudad. Entonces llega la gente a Tel Aviv y le dice, te quiero donar una casa de ancianos. Dice, no me des una casa de ancianos, no tengo cómo mantenerla, pero regálame una escuela aquí. Tiene proyectos y proyectos y yo voy a sacar de este estudio gigante, de este estudio que vamos a hacer en un año, voy a sacar los 250 proyectos que la gente quiere y necesita, todos que valgan más de $500,000. Adelante. Sí. Voy a invitar de las maquiladoras, que hay 800 maquiladoras, voy a invitar a 250 CEOs de las maquiladoras para que decirles a cada uno, este es el proyecto que los ciudadanos quieren, quiero que me lo regales. Yo sé que tú pagas buenos sueldos, yo sé que tú das buena comida a tus empleados, yo sé que tú das salud, pero ven a ver cómo viven, ven a ver también sus problemas, ayúdame a resolverlos. Adelante. Sí. Y para el año que entra en octubre, vamos a tener una nueva presidenta en México. Están compitiendo dos mujeres, una que se llama apellida Sheinbaum y otra que se llama Xochitl Gálvez. Son dos mujeres que están compitiendo. Yo me permito hacer una broma. Digo, shh. Las mujeres dijeron a los hombres, shh. Las mujeres dijeron a los hombres, shh. Sheinbaum, Xochitl, así se llaman. Bueno, entonces vamos a tenerlas con ellos, con los 250 CEOs va a estar la presidenta y además vamos a traer probablemente a Michelle Obama o alguno de estos personajes para que nos ayuden a promover este proyecto. Adelante. Estos personajes estamos invitando, 10 de estos personajes y este es el organigrama, el plan, cómo vamos a trabajar para hacer esto efectivo. Necesitamos obviamente toda la ayuda del mundo. Pero, ya.
Entonces, José, muchas gracias, no por la presentación, pero por el amor que tiene y por la pasión que trae a la vida y a su pueblo. Muchas gracias. Do you have public comments, Francesca?
Yes, thank you. We do. The original draw, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah. Que cacha pinche mierda. What is going on? Because you guys are sitting here and doing, I don't understand what's going on here, why this isn't even an item. We don't even have anything set here in the United States that is going good. And we have another country coming and saying they're going to use our resources to help them better their community when our communities are suffering on an astronomical level. I mean, is this for real? Like, I feel like, is this a joke? Is there, is it like gotcha kind of thing? I mean, you can't even, number one, that man speaks English. And then we sit here and you have to have people who live in this country get an interpreter to understand where their money and or resources are going to be spent. This is absurd. Excuse me? Yeah, you guys don't know what you're doing. You're sitting there. This is fraud, waste, and abuse, what you're doing to the people in this community. The fact that we can't even better our own communities and we're sitting here, engaging with the country that is shitting on our lawn. We can't even stop the sewer from coming in, yet we need to help them build their city up.
That concludes the public comments on this item.
Thank you, Francesca. I'm bringing it back to the committee comments. Yo sí le tengo un comentario pequeño y es referente al, pues no sé qué, no tenía número, pero decía issues. No sé si lo puedan regresar a issues. Estaba en inglés, pero lo platicaron en español. Le tengo un pequeño comentario, don José. Bueno, pregunta más bien. Ese mero. Muchos de estas, y estoy 100% de acuerdo con usted, yo me relaciono mucho con Mexicali y pues obviamente existe la competencia en Baja California de Tijuana contra Mexicali con problemas similares desafortunadamente. Muchos de sus puntos no son puntos que un municipio pueda controlar porque entre el gobierno de Baja California o ya sea la federación, ¿no? Que obviamente le quita a Baja California y le regresa muy poco. Todo el mundo lo sabe, es blanco y negro. Mi pregunta para usted, con sus conocimientos y su experiencia y su pasión, ¿cómo pudiera motivar al gobierno federal principalmente a apoyar a Tijuana para resolver o apoyar en resolver ciertos problemas que usted está ya diagnosticando?
Yo tuve la oportunidad hace unos 20 años de dirigir un grupo. Había un problema de leaking, igual que el que hay ahorita, nada más que había entre Tijuana y el mar. Y había solamente una tubería y constantemente la tubería se destruía. Entonces hice un cabildeo con el NAPBank, conseguí $18 millones y pusimos una segunda línea y se evitó el leaking. Después pedí $60 millones para cambiar la tubería de la ciudad. Yo no soy político, yo soy ciudadano. Yo no tengo ningún puesto político. Entonces, fui a pedirlo, le presentamos estudios y cambiamos toda la tubería de la ciudad, $60 millones. Yo pienso que uno de los problemas que hay que resolver, y es increíble, es imposible que vivamos con él, es el asunto del SOICH, que es horrible, y estoy de acuerdo. Quiero decirle que el dinero que estoy pidiendo, que voy a conseguir, no es de americanos, son coreanos, son franceses, son alemanes, son italianos, son gente japoneses que tienen fábricas en Tijuana, que tienen maquiladoras, es Mitsubishi, y yo pienso... Yo en lo personal gano mi dinero en Los Cabos, Cabo San Lucas, y entonces, pero me lo gasto en Tijuana. Los coreanos ganan el dinero en Corea, pero se lo gastan, en Tijuana, pero se lo gastan en Corea. Los franceses ganan el dinero en Tijuana y se lo gastan en Francia. Exportamos $200 millones diarios. Yo estoy pidiendo $125 millones, no de americanos. Si tienen fábricas en Tijuana, por supuesto que sí, pero estoy pidiendo de cualquiera que tenga una fábrica en Tijuana que me ayude a cuidar a sus obreros, que me ayude a enseñar, porque están ganando muy buen dinero. Si no, no estarían las plantas ahí. Bueno, y finalmente quiero decirles a ustedes que toda ayuda es necesaria, no necesariamente económica. Yo necesito diseñar, yo necesito ayuda moral, yo necesito que San Diego entienda que tiene que tener, Tijuana no se va a ir de ahí. Cuando yo llegué a esta región, había 50,000 habitantes en San Diego, 35,000 y 20,000 en Tijuana. Hoy tenemos 3 millones de habitantes en San Diego y cerca de 3 millones en el área mexicana. No vamos a parar de crecer. En 10 años vamos a tener 5 millones allá. Necesitamos resolver los problemas ahorita en la sociedad. Si el gobierno me ayuda, pues es como si cayera del cielo, pero quiero que la sociedad tome control de esta situación porque el gobierno no lo está haciendo bien.
Gracias por sus comentarios. Councilmember Moreno.
Sí, mis comentarios van a ser en español. Pues para empezar, muchísimas gracias por la presentación. Yo siempre he dicho que Tijuana es una ciudad muy noble. La persona que quiera ir a Tijuana a trabajar va a encontrar trabajo, va a encontrar vivienda, y lo que está presentando usted ahorita es darle para atrás a Tijuana, que se me hace una cosa muy bonita y muy importante. Nuestras economías, ya sea en San Diego o en Tijuana, son codependientes. Necesitamos de Tijuana igual que Tijuana necesita de nosotros. Así que muchas gracias por su presentación, muy buena presentación. Y lo voy a decir lo siguiente en inglés. We hear the public has a right to free speech as long as it's within the jurisdiction of the items. But so do we as board members. So I want to formally denounce the comments that were made today. I want to apologize to our presenter and let him know that we stand with Tijuana, or I should say I stand with Tijuana and all the betterments that you as an individual are seeking for your city. So with that, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Moreno. Any additional board member comments? Seeing none, le agradezco de nuevo su pasión principalmente, el amor que tiene para Tijuana y las ganas de meterle todo para un cambio justo para los residentes de Tijuana, especialmente los más necesitados. Felicidades. Gracias. With that, item 7 was actually discussed at the last meeting. Item 8, the upcoming meeting, Board Committee regular meeting is scheduled for Friday, October 27th. There will be a joint meeting of policy committees on Friday, October 6th. So we're going to have a packed house that day, more than likely. So I look forward to seeing all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.